Hello and welcome, this is Mouse Gunner, and we're back with some more From the Depths. And my previous videos have been doing a lot above the water, and I thought it was about time that we went below the water. And to do that, I have a submarine right here. So let's look under the water to see what we have. So we have a window up in the front for forward visibility. We have a couple torpedo bays on either side, 3 torpedoes per bay for a total of 6 torpedoes. We have our hydrofoils on the side. This gives us our up and down control. We have our rudders in the rear for side-to-side control, as well as our main propulsion mostly in the rear, but we also have a little bit in the front here for forward propulsion. And we also have propellers on either side to give us a little bit of assist in our control. All right, so let's go ahead and hop into the first-person perspective, and we'll bring up the HUD, and we'll go ahead and see what is all inside the craft. So first off, open up the door here. And that's how you get in and out of the ship, but also maintain an airtight seal, which is important. We have our air pump up front and our air pump up in the back to balance out the buoyancy and also obviously give us an air pocket inside. Now, I thought about putting a bulkhead in the middle of the ship to limit the chance that a hull breach would flood the entire ship, maybe only flood half of it, but at the moment it isn't installed. We have our control cockpit area up front. We have our fuel and ammunition storage in the middle, and we have our main propulsion, our engine, in the rear. So let's go ahead and hop into the captain's chair here. So we have dials over to the left. So that you can have a more immersive experience, you could go ahead and go in first-person view, turn off your HUD, and be able to see out, reasonably well. And you have dials to see, what's going on with your ship. Although right now the dials aren't marked, so you can't really tell what it is that they're telling you. So maybe that will be something that's implemented in the future. And then we have our weapon control unit over to the right to control all the weapons that are on the ship, as well as our vehicle control unit that allows us to steer the craft. So let's go ahead and jump into third-person perspective here and get ready to dive. Now, one thing about building, any craft, is making sure your weight balance is appropriate. But with a submarine, it's especially important because not only is it a big element of controlling your craft in a stable manner, it's also a big element of being able to dive at all. So that's a big key element. But let's go ahead and set our hydrofoils to go full down. And then we'll set our main engine to start our propulsion. And we'll use our propellers on the front to give us a little bit of assist to dive a little bit quicker. And we're starting to go below the water. So with this craft, the way I've designed it, it goes below the waves pretty well as long as you start off well. One thing I've noticed, if you start with your hydrofoils in the wrong direction and try and dive, it can be a little tricky to get that dive going. Now, one element of a submarine is visibility. Now, you can see pretty well under the water, but above the water is a little bit tricky because of the surface of the water kind of blocks visibility a little bit. But this is also true for your opponent being able to see you. But there is kind of a hitch to that, in that the enemy AI can see you under the water regardless, and they can shoot at you with their cannons, and normal cannons will hit you under the water. So as the game is currently implemented, submarines are really not all that effective, because even if you're facing a human player, if he has his weapons linked up to his AI, even if he can't see you, well, the AI sure can. So just to demonstrate that, we'll go ahead and load in an enemy I like to use a lot, which is the Vanguard. It's a nice opponent because it does have a pretty potent firepower, but it's not so powerful that it's not being, you can't contend with it. So we'll go ahead and load that in. And there he is. And I'm going to be using the third-person perspective here as kind of a cheat, as kind of a periscope. But as you can hear, he's already firing at me, and we can start to see the shells coming in. So the shells come in, and they pretty much are just as effective above the water as they are below it. So you don't really get an advantage there. Now, his ability to hit me at this depth and this range is pretty much non-existent. But as we close distance, he'll have a little bit easier time hitting me. So we'll go ahead and wheel around here. And once we get to relatively where I think he is, and I think I can kind of see him, I'll go ahead and lay off a full group of my torpedoes, and we'll turn off here, and then I'll kind of go back into my into a view so you can see the torpedo hit. So there they're going. Now these are linked with sonar seeking heads, so they can see within a 120-degree angle, but it seems like they lost tracking and didn't hit, so that's kind of not so great. So we'll hop back into view of our craft here. So that's unfortunate. It looked like our torpedoes didn't get good tracking there. Not exactly sure why. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to get a little bit more distance, and I've actually paired off the two bays into separate groups. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch one at a time and hope that that gets us a hit. As we can see, our torpedoes coming back around. They've lost tracking. It has to keep in that 120-degree arc or they lose their tracking. And there they go, self-destructing. After a period of time, they will self-destruct like that. So we didn't hit anything, unfortunately. I'm not exactly sure why that happened, because it seemed like we had good tracking there, and then all of a sudden it just didn't work in our favor. So I'm going to turn around here, and then I'm going to pop up above the waves to see where we need to be. Looks like that's about right. And there goes one salvo. Let's launch off our other. It could be my depth is too great, and that might be part of the problem. But it looks like they're tracking true. We got a hit. We're going to get another hit there. Ooh, that actually jumped out of the water and hit him. All right, so let's hop back in so we can, get behind our craft here again. And at this point, we're actually starting to get hit because we got too close. I'm trying to think. Maybe we should dive below him. I'm pretty deep below the waves here. I might even give off another salvo here. I think we're too close for that, but it looks like we knocked off his sail, which might be his main means of propulsion. Yeah, it looked like we were too close there, but it looks like our one torpedo bobbed back around and is about to hit. There we go. But I think the other one lost tracking. So we got half of our torpedoes to go. But I think at this point we can get our distance. And I think I'm going to actually rise up here a little bit. Turn the hydrofoils up. So we're not having that big arc when we shoot up the torpedoes. That might have been the main reason we lost tracking last time. And I think we can spin around here and maybe give off another salvo. Alright, I lost ability to see him, unfortunately. We're a little bit too far out. But I'm going to assume we're getting close here. And we'll get to the next. There we go. And I think that will come in. There, yeah, I can see him now. There we go. We got one hit. And we got another hit. And that big explosion is a good sign that the enemy is about to die. Yeah, 2 damaged. And once that timer goes down, the craft will disintegrate. So we got a good torpedo salvo in there. Unfortunately, the frame rate right now is probably really awful. And I apologize for that. Right now, the game is really struggling with optimization. Now, there was a recent update that supposedly fixed that, but it still is a little bit of an issue. But now that we're back in our craft, I think the frame rate is calmed back down. Okay, so in any case, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I really apologize for that awful frame rate there for a little bit. But again, there was an update that supposedly fixed a lot of the optimization issues with frame rate and what have you, but when you destroy a craft like that and there's a lot of explosions, there's still some issues with the frame rate, which, we saw there. It really tanked. As a matter of fact, I'm almost of the opinion that the frame rate is actually, at least for me when I'm trying to record, worse than it was before the update. But again, that's just my perspective, and maybe with a little bit more time, we'll see how this update fares. In any case, as I said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is Mouse Gunner, signing out.